Okay, we're on World Crypto Network, and today we're going to talk about Golem, the decentralized supercomputer. Here we have Eddie, who's a part of a Golem team, and Julian and Alexandra.
Hello.
Okay, you guys can introduce yourself and what do you do in Golem Project?
Okay, sure. I'm Julian Zawisowski, and I'm CEO of IMAP and Golem. And yes, and I'm working hard with the rest of the team to make Golem happen. Alexandra?
Okay, hello, I'm the developer of the Golem Project. And I'm creating the code with my team.
Eddie?
I'm the growth hacker, and I've been on the team for about less than a month. I'm the newest hire, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I guess today we just try to cover all the technology bits. So Alexandra, you mentioned you're working. Which part of Golem you focusing on? What are you developing?
Well, for about a year, I developed Golem by myself, so I used to work on every part of Golem. Right now, we've got a much bigger team, so I'm working a little bit on reputation system, a little bit on interface, a little bit on project management.
And there are also other people. I know Piotr, who presented at the DevCon 1. No, DevCon 0. He's still working on the project, but he's not here. Then I know that Alex Leverington from Ethereum also joined you recently. Is it correct?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. And Peter presented also on DevCon 1 and DevCon 0. And he used to work on this nano payment system, nano payments white paper. And right now he's working hard on our token contract. And Alex joined our team recently, and he's going to work on peer-to-peer protocols.
Because he built a peer-to-peer protocol for Ethereum originally, yeah, exactly. Right? So what does Golem do?
Well,
maybe it's a question to Julian.
Well, our intention is that Golem will be capable of doing pretty much anything. But to start with, Golem is firstly is going to be a solution for tasks that are computationally demanding, like rendering, like scientific computation, like machine learning, like a lot of stuff in a financial sector, in an engineering sector. So basically what we aim to do within Golem is to create computers, like any computers, both individual computers and professional setups like data centers, in a peer-to-peer network where any participant can use other participants' computers to do the job for him or her, paying for the actual use of other people's hardware. So you can look at that as on a kind of great supercomputer, and you can also look at that, and this is a very interesting perspective, as a market on computing power.
If I can put that into really simple layman's terms, you can look at it as two things. One, it's Airbnb for computing power. So anyone who has a computer connects it to the Golem network and gets paid. That's it. There's no work involved. And two, it's a global supercomputer made up of a ton of computers from all around the world. So what makes it so cool is because of a few factors, it being decentralized, computing power being more or less the same from computer to computer, the only difference being amount, it creates something called perfect competition, which essentially means that the prices will always be as low as possible. There's nobody who can, push their weight around to move the price. There's no monopolization, nothing. And so will, and the computer power, will also be a lot higher. with every new computer that's added, which makes it so that the price and the speed of doing computations on just about anything, I mean anything from like science, graphics, rendering, AI research, anything, is probably going to be a lot cheaper and a lot faster than even supercomputers could do.
So it means that it will allow simple mortals as well to fire up the old laptops and make some money.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So of course, you know, the actual advantage of Golem Network depends on use case. Like I love Ide for his enthusiasm, and what we said is perfectly true. But of course, at the end of the day, that boils down on what computers you have in the network and how exactly your specific use case is implemented. So what I think is the most interesting is this market part, and like, of course, I believe that the market we are creating will operate according to the rules, which we make prices in Golem lower than elsewhere, because this will be like nearly complete information market with the quite simple mechanism to compare prices and to compete for the providers between each other. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we are trying to outcompete anyone. We just want to provide a new ways of market for computing power to function.
That anyone can join. So you don't have to have a, basically, what draws me to projects like that is greed, because I just want to like fire up all my old gear and see if I can make use of all these resources we have. Because I mean, if I want to start rendering farm, well, I have to invest a lot of money in it. But hopefully, hopefully I can just use what I have. So it's sort of a bit of, I mean, it's not a sharing economy because I'm not sharing anything. I'm expected to be paid for something that I have. But it
is a sure economy in a way. If you, for example, both are providing resources to the network, but from time to time you need to do something on the network, then you can see this as a kind of like with electricity, which is produced by consumers, but also consumed by consumers. So you don't always need the full potential of the hardware you have, but sometimes you need much more than you have. But of course, I like this this parallel with old laptop, and I personally use it quite often. But of course, we have to remember that there are use cases where old laptop can be very good hardware to do some part of computing, but still there are use cases which are still done best by a professional hardware. And what we are after is to combine both professional hardware and individual computers to let users utilize their power in line with the needs of the specific use case.
So how does it actually work? Is like, for instance, the first question I'm thinking of is, let's say I have a file that I want to render, I don't know, a video or what have you. Am I actually ordering it from one person, or can I just split it up into a lot of bits and pieces and just ask everyone to render it at the same time? Or is it just, you know what I mean? Am I dealing with like one person?
Yeah,
I don't know, Julian has an old laptop and I have a video.
Yeah, I understand that perfectly. So we believe that in many use cases, the best idea is to split the job into small parts, sometimes even very small parts, and let the network do the job by distributing that to the number of computers, tens or even thousands, perhaps, in some use cases. That depends really on what exactly do you want to do. But of course, basic concept is to divide the huge task into a smaller task and distribute that over the people computers. And actually, this is exactly what data centers are doing as well. So at the moment, the powerful computing facilities, also a combination of many computers working together. So what we are doing is connecting them over internet, and sometimes connecting those data centers over internet to the network as well.
So it's like a huge LAN.
Excuse
in
me?
a sense. Is it like a huge local area network?
Well,
but on the internet.
Well, not really. You are not able to just use other computers in your local network to do anything for you. You could do that using a Golem-like technology.
No, I just imagine it's like, for instance, in data center, a lot of computers are connected, but they're not connected over the internet. And then if I send my work to a data center and I want them to do stuff, they're just going to distribute it amongst their computers the way they want it. So basically, it's apart from just being Airbnb for computing power and a global market for computing power, it's more like a huge data center that anyone can join with their computer.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes, sure.
Also, there's a flip side to the accessible to anyone bit, which is that it's not just accessible to anyone to make money; it's accessible to anyone to use the computer. And that's the potential of that's kind of ungraspable, because if you look at it like, just for example, one use case, let's say that every single scientist in the world doing heavy computation and everything, researching new biofuels to looking for extraterrestrial life to DNA research and all that stuff. If you give them all access, affordable access to a gigantic supercomputer, they're going to get their work done a lot faster. So this is something that doesn't exist right now, and it's something that when it does exist, it's a lot smaller than what Golem can be. And it's something that just on the scientific side of things, the impact on humanity is literally unfathomable.
Yeah, well, we have to give the credit where it is due. Of course, like Boeing Project is one of our inspirations. So Boeing Project is exactly what Eddie described. So like distributing scientific computation over individual computers. But the problem, beautiful thing about Boeing Project and the problem at the same time is that people are contributing the computers for free, which is of course cool if you have a very cool project and you're able to convince people to participate in that project for free. But if your project is not that cool, or you're just not able to communicate effectively that this is cool, still like project like Golem may be a very interesting idea.
Yeah, well, I totally get it. It's like, okay, you can rely on people's charity to share stuff, but you might as well just invite people who want to make money out of something, and it's totally fine. I mean, not everyone is like altruistic and charitable and want to support things. So obviously, if you can make a bit of money with it, it's perfectly fine. I mean, we're all using cryptocurrency, and most people who maintain the network by mining, they're not there because they care about us, because we want to use cryptocurrency. They're there to just make some dough, right? So, but how does it actually work? Let's maybe go through some layers. Like there is a network layer that Alex Larrington will be working on. There is a token layer and a smart contract. It's also somehow you building it on Ethereum. Is it correct? Or like how does Ethereum comes into play? Like all this like technology elements, maybe we can just go through them and then see if we can dive into one of them.
Okay, I think I should get it. So,
yeah.
We use Ethereum mainly. Can you hear my microphone better right now? Because people were complaining that they cannot hear me.
It's a little bit better.
Okay. So the main function of Ethereum that we see is to use our payment system. So user can pay each other in our Golem tokens over Ethereum network, and then can verify that the payment was made. Also, we want to introduce application registry where software developers are able to public the application and other user then can use them to distribute the task over the network. Another layer will be transaction framework, where different form of payments can be implemented, like this non-payments lottery, but maybe something else, batching or lightning network. And we also have this part of transaction framework when we choose how to connect requesters and providers to give both sides optimal earnings. There's also a reputation system that's going to track malicious behavior and wrong behavior of the nodes.
Sorry for interrupting. Just to summarize, so Ethereum is used for the token system. So the tokens, the sort of the ledger of who is paid what is stored on Ethereum, but the computers are so it seems like the nodes of Golem will be connected both on the Ethereum network and on the Golem network. So it's like two networks in one. Is it? Do I get it correctly?
Yeah, in a way. So we have Golem network and Ethereum network independent on that, but you can track the right payments and different elements on Ethereum.
So a user, a simple mortal user of Golem will need to run both Ethereum and Golem, or is it will it just come in one package? So sort of Ethereum is a dependency.
Yes, in a way. However, we hope that the user won't have to run a full Ethereum node. Just the light wallet should be all right.
So you don't have to run a full Ethereum node.
No, just something that make possible to make a short payments and then verify the payments.
So the payments happen on Ethereum, and the orders of the computation powers and people taking the orders also happen on Ethereum. That's a contract. Do I get it right?
The payments happens on Ethereum, and if the connection of people taking part in computation, connecting providers and requesters in the first step, will it happen on Ethereum? We're not sure. It may be too expensive. It may be somehow off-chain, and only on-chain if the conflict occurs.
Sort of, maybe a bit of a hard question. I know that Golem team was always like inspired by Ethereum, and I remember Piotr's presentation, and also that Ethereum people, original Ethereum people, are inspired by Golem, so it's kind of marriage in heaven. But I guess people would be wondering, like, for instance, Ethereum undergoing a lot of tweaks and forks, and sort of it's a hard beast to build on for many people, I think. So you didn't think about like building your own version of Ethereum, maybe with its own blockchain or own virtual machine, and or you completely rely on what these guys are going to do, so you fine with this? Or are you also thinking maybe there is another way of doing it? Like maybe you can talk about why is it this so connected?
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I will take that one. So yeah, well, I believe that Golem is in fact possible thanks to Ethereum. So those projects are complementary and not competitive in any way. If you boil it down to technology, then like core Golem assumption is totally opposite to the core Ethereum assumption, because with some simplification in Ethereum network, every node does the same, basically. Which means that the larger the network is, the more secure it is, like basically. but not necessarily it is capable of doing much more than a smaller network. And with Golem, this is totally opposite. So like the core assumption is that every node does something different. And this is cool, because then the larger the network is, the more powerful it is, the more capable of doing great things it is. But still, we need a very secure layer we can trust, which we will use for transactions and other things, as Alexandra described that. And this is where we need Ethereum. And from all blockchain technologies, I believe Ethereum is the only one we can integrate with. And of course, like, Ethereum is by far not a finished project. It is still evolving, but I believe we will be able and we will be willing to evolve along with Ethereum.
Hey guys, we have a couple questions in the YouTube chat. You want me to bring them in?
Oh, that's great. So I can stop asking questions.
Okay, so from Becco Bob, he says, what if the network earnings get lower than the price people pay for electricity? And he's citing Europe as an example. Electricity's cost is quite high. He's asking if this will make it more like mining, aka centralized.
Yeah, sure. So every participant of the network is free to set the price, and that's true, but both for providers, so people who want to rent their machines, and requesters, so people who want to do the computing. So this is totally market driven, and if the price goes down below the electricity cost, then I would expect people to withdraw from network or to raise price, and this should adjust to the new conditions. So basically, the price in Golem network is totally market driven, and that's it. If it goes down to the electricity cost and the network still works, then it is great, because this is great to the users, and it means that basically mission accomplished, because we are driving the price down to the marginal cost.
Yeah, and to address the problem of centralization, it's not really a problem, because unlike, say, Bitcoin, where the miners have a vote and can affect the network because they have centralization, GNT holders don't have a vote. So it's not like they can actually do anything to, say, corner the price or change the technology, because
I believe that well, GNT is to be used for payments in the network, and this is like the key feature, not only but key feature of GNT token. But as the users are free to adjust the price as they will, this can accommodate the GNT price changes quite easily.
Cool. All right, so another one. He says he actually believes that what we're doing is huge in disrupting the world of companies like Amazon Amazon AWS. But he wants to know what it is that makes us the group that's going to do it. Why is it that we are going to have an advantage over other companies that are going to try to do the same thing?
Well, I think that all the companies trying to do that, and I think you are the one with the great team and the most advanced one. There are some projects which are more or less similar to Golem. None of them like 100% similar to us. So I believe we already have a head start and a good grasp on what we are going to do over the next couple of months and then couple of years.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say our biggest advantages are, besides the team, but we can't really toot our own horn. Our technology is solid, and we have the first mover advantage.
Yeah, well,
because you've been working on this thing. Yeah, carry on.
We started working on that, as Alexandra said. We started 2 years ago. For the first year, it was mostly Alexandra, challenging all the most difficult questions and planning that. And only after DEFCON 1, I'm sorry, in London. We decided to like scale up the project and have a couple of developers working on that, including, for example, Pavel Bilica working full-time and a couple of others. And this is thanks to that effort that we are where we are at the moment. So we have a working proof of concept, which is not release ready for sure, but this is still like quite advanced and basically does what is designed to do. So this is quite a lot, and this is open source, so you can try it for yourself.
So how many nodes do you have on the testnet? So testnet is live now.
Testnet is live, but testnet is not that big. In fact, we want to make a much more effort to make the testnet bigger after we are done with crowdfunding, because like still team is not large enough to be able to fight on a couple of different topics. So like just keeping up to pace of Golem development now and working on crowdfunding is everything we are able to do now. But scaling up the testnet is planned for the next weeks for sure. But this testnet is up to a couple of dozen of nodes, so this is surely enough to test the technology.
So what would be the first sort of how do you see the first functionalities that would be released? Because Alexandra mentioned a reputation system and all the Ethereum stuff, a contract and the payment system, and then there is obviously the network which is a Golem network that I can communicate with this computer, which does my work for me. So which element's going to be there like from day one? Like maybe not the reputation system, because I guess it would be super complex.
I think that at the beginning we're going to concentrate on building. At first, from the brass Golem, we're going to make the code more secure and more efficient. But then we're going to concentrate on task API and the way of defining the task, giving the developer tools to create their own task to increase the number of potential use cases. So they can add something from scientific task or machine learning task that just not using Blender all the time, so our only use case.
So what you mean that there is a layer of applications. So you're building an infrastructure, and the basic infrastructure would be, okay, if I have a Golem node, there is like a little bit of Ethereum in it. There is also Golem, so I open it up and I want to render a huge video or whatever. So I don't have to have a dApp on top of that to do that, but I might as well have some extra layer. Because you're mentioning that for other developers, so let's say I can, on Ethereum network, I can, let's say, send you Ether, or I can publish a contract or whatever. And but this, I'm sort of trying to get my head around it. Let's say there is a lab and they want to fold proteins, and they will be already able to go on the Golem network and propagate this message to the rest of the network saying, hello there, we have this huge task, we can't do it ourselves, who is up for it, who wants it? And then people will come to them and say, yeah, if you pay me this, then I'm gonna start folding your proteins. So they don't really need a dApp for it, which runs on Golem.
Well, you know, every computer, every hardware is as good as software running on top of it. And of course, Golem alone is just as 1/3 of the system. You need, of course, like the software. We call that a use case or an integration that you can use on top of Golem. So what we are doing now, we are preparing the first release, which goes with our proof of concept integration, which is rendering in Blender more specifically. And then the development will be going into one very important direction which Alexandra mentioned. So giving developers tools to integrate with their use cases with Golem on themselves. So, and that goes not only with the tools to build the integration, but also with the tools to create your own remuneration scheme for this software. If you happen that you don't want to give this software to people for free, but you want to be remunerated for the use of this software. So this is also an important part. And of course, we for sure at the beginning of this we will be facilitating first integrations ourselves, just to make the things rolling, because it will take some time for all the environmental Golem to evolve and to have like a lot of custom integrations. But ideally, as with your example of a lab wanting to fold proteins, what we have to give this lab is tools to prepare their custom integration for this protein folding. And,
okay.
and this is because like they are using some kind of software to do that, and of course like this to dispatch that software on the Golem network, that needs some work and some preparation.
So it needs some ecosystem as well. Do you think that in case of crowdfunding campaign being successful, and hopefully it will be, you would have some grant program or whatever for people who would like to do that? Because I can think of, for instance, a lot of citizen science and biocommons and this kind of lot. They probably would be very interested in this kind of stuff. Yeah,
for sure we want to facilitate those integrations, especially in the early phase of the project. And yeah, we are planning to do that, yes.
But then also science, science usually can sort out their own funding and go to non-profit organizations and maybe even governments and EU and stuff like that.
Yes, but once we have all our tools for developers in place, then integrating with Golem shouldn't be that complicated and that costly.
Okay, so it's not going to be, because I'm now because people won't need to build on Ethereum. Ethereum going to be a part of it, because what I see now with a lot of decentralized tech is people really suffering from going from like a normal development for normal centralized web to decentralized web. So like for instance, projects like Hyperledger, they sort of they phrased it in a way that the project is mature, not when the technology is really good, but when you actually have community able to build on it and maintain it. And I think it's a very good indicator. And maybe one of the reasons why like decentralized tech is not, we don't see like huge industrial applications yet. It's maybe not because the technology is not working, but because not so many people understand how to work with it securely. As we see even from within the community, people still screw up with this building on decentralized networks. But with Golem, it's because the infrastructure should work in a way that as a normal developer, it would be like using API or something.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, we want to make integration with Golem pretty straightforward at some point. But still, of course, those tools for developers to integrate are tools for developers. So and then once you have a specific integration ready, then you don't have to be a developer to use that. I believe that apart from maybe not that cool design, what we have at the moment for Blender users in our proof of concept has quite good user experience, like for sure comparable with what you've got from rendering firms. And this,
so what languages?
This is important.
Sorry. So what languages the developers would use? Is there any specific language? Like what are the skills of the developers who would be able to build on top of Golem? I don't mean to start language wars, because that's often happens when you mention a particular framework or a language, but what is the skill set? Is it like a normal web developer or backend? Like what is it needed to start working on Golem to develop for it?
Well, at the beginning, we developed the code in Python because it's the quickest way to create a proof of concept. And I think that our first approach to Task API will be in Python too, but somewhere in the way, during the last stage of Python Golem, we plan to create a Golem standard library that can be integrated with different programming languages to make it possible to use Golem straightforward from different programming language, just to distribute parts of the language directly. And well, what we are intended to do is to create task development as easy as it's possible. Right now, to create a Boeing application for the Boeing platform, like this coding at home, we need 3 months. One from developer, one from the web developer, and one from a web administrator. And we want to reduce this time for the Golem. So you can just wrap something around your code, put it in a Docker container, then create just a little bit of code in this Task API to distribute your subtask, and that's it. So we hope that it's not going to be much.
So, so the Golem client, is it correct to refer to Golem project in terms of like clients and nodes? I assume that if it's decentralized tech, is going to be a right terminology. So, is the Golem node written in Python as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I didn't read much.
Okay, another question, actually another few questions from the chat. So the first one is asking, how will we corner the CGI Blender market? And that's actually one I can answer because that's my job. There's this quote I love that essentially, to paraphrase, goes, "The man who builds a better mousetrap can live in the middle of the woods, and the world will still be the path to his door." So we're going to make something that lets you, render any graphics way faster and way cheaper than anything else in the world. After that, it's just a matter of letting people know it exists. The UX will be either comparable or better than the rendering farms out there. And so we'll just tell them, hey, that thing you're paying for? Come over here, pay less, get it faster. It's actually quite simple. Another question is, why are we the best team? Which carries on to the question the guy asked earlier of essentially, why do you bet on Golem versus everyone else taking on the AWS style industry? I have 2 things to add to that, and the rest would have to be Julian. The first 2 is simply, we have 2 core Ethereum developers working on Golem. The rest of it, yeah, Julian knows.
Yeah, well, having 2 Ethereum core developers working on Golem is, of course, important. But hey, we are not developing Ethereum, we are developing Golem. So, of course, that helps in this part where we are integrating with Ethereum, but not only there, because Alex is a great specialist on peer-to-peer, pure networking in general, and we have quite a lot of stuff to resolve there. I think that IT projects in general can fail for a number of reasons, but one of the very, very often reasons of the failures is that people are ceasing to work together, and they're ceasing to communicate, and they're ceasing to go along well with each other. And this, of course, has a really horrible impact on the project. And in case of our team, like Golem is not our first project we do together. So, well, Golem was started by our company called IMAP, which is consulting and software development company. And for the core team, we have years of experience working together I started working with some of the team members as long time ago, so as 2008. So it is 8 years now. That is true for our CEO, who is not a developer, but still some of the developer joined as long time ago as 5 years ago, I think. So we have been a team for quite a long time now. I also believe that for those who could come later, we managed to get them into our working culture and get them fascinated by the project. So, well, perhaps we haven't so far made anything as big as we are up to at the moment, but we have done so far quite a few things, and we have done them together. And I think this is the best proof of the fact that we are able to do something great now. And on top of it, like, our team is really qualified. If you this is not something to advertise probably in the question and answers like that, but I encourage you to just examine the white paper and the description of the team and links. Like almost all developers recruits from University of Warsaw Mathematics and Computer Science, which is one of the best computer science faculties in the world. So I think we are, if someone is capable of doing that, I'm pretty sure that we are.
So I remember I was a little bit confused about Golem because it was, first I came across it as like huge data center, and then there was also some conversations about this micropayments, because I remember, I think the topic of the DEFCON 1 in London was micropayments, and one of the papers as well. So why is micropayments are important in this? Apart from, well, you micropaying someone to do your job or the job you want to get done.
Okay, so yeah, well, at the moment we think that nano payments might not be that important as we thought back a year ago. Still, they are important. This is because if you want to compute one huge task by dividing it into a number of small tasks, it may turn out that the unit cost of computing this task, like for a single node you're working with, is quite small. It can go down to cents, a fraction of cents even in some cases. And if you are to pay 1 cent to, say, 100 people using any transaction system, then the transaction cost is quite high. For centralized solutions like, I don't know, Visa or PayPal, it is prohibitively expensive. For Ethereum, it is maybe not prohibitively expensive, but still quite expensive. So you need to work out a solution which will make it cheaper. Because if you don't, then still the idea is feasible, but it is somehow limited to the larger tasks and larger subtasks. And a year ago, when we were like discussing that pre-DEFCON 1, we thought that this is like one of the major issues to resolve. And then because of that, we researched that and came out with this probabilistic nanopayments concept that was presented during the DEFCON 1. Which is like cool. We like this idea, and this is very likely that we will be introducing it at some point. On the other hand, it seems that the cost might not be that high, so simple transaction batching might be enough. And apart from that, solutions like Brighton, payment channels might just do the trick. And of course, this is not ready yet, but it may turn out at some point that they are equally good as probabilistic nanopayments, or even better. Still, I think that Golem is one of the fine examples of the system where you need a lot of relatively small payments in a many-to-many setup. which is like interesting research point for like any transaction system. Maybe Alexandra would like to add something.
Yes, we started working on this nano-payment solution when we weren't sure how high Ethereum price is going to be. And we wanted to be prepared what's going to happen if Ethereum price is as high as Bitcoin price. So yeah, then we prepared this solution to prove that it will be possible to use Ethereum if the gas price didn't change much and Ethereum price skyrocketed. And yeah, we were prepared to this method. But with the current price, it's not necessary. And the Lightning Network and all these type channels are still under development. It cannot be used right now, and it probably cannot be used in the next year or two. So we have to make something that makes payments possible right now.
Cool.
So, but how? So every time I'm sort of going into details again. Every time someone will place an order, and every time someone will respond to an order and say, "Yeah, I'm doing it," that's a gas cost involved, because every time you do that, you interact with the contract. And also every time you start paying someone while I'm rendering your stuff, how does it happen? It's like, I'm just trying to imagine, let's say I have something to render and I give it to Eddie and he starts rendering it, and that's the moment when can start flowing into his Golem wallet. Is it correct? Or is it just like when he rendered stuff and he sent it back to me and I can see it and I'm satisfied with the work, then there is some kind of escrow and it unlocks magically? Or like, how does this kind of exchange work?
Well, in the current scenario, that's the second option that you mentioned. So when Eddie sends back the results and you verify that it's correct, then you can pay him. It's probably not going to be the solution for all the problems. For example, with some cryptocurrency mining or those microservices, we will need another model. But for simple rendering, that's the solution. So the blockchain is only involved after you agreed for a certain price and then when you pay it.
Okay, so there is an escrow involved.
It may, yeah. So yeah, the escrow may be involved.
Yeah, we haven't figured out the exact details of the payment structure yet. There's a few different options, so it's not like set in stone yet.
Okay.
In fact, like escrow is not implemented at the moment, and before it is implemented, like this will be rather done by a reputation system to eliminate malicious providers. Still, like one of the core ideas Nocturne is to give developers tool to decide on how exactly the remuneration scheme works out in their integration, because that may be like heavily use case sensitive. Like this
yeah.
Like you will split the task differently, and single task will take different amount of time depending on what exactly it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. With rendering, it might be an escrow, but actually, if I want to, you mentioned mining, or did I mix something up? Because also doesn't mean that I can ask someone to mine cryptocurrency for me, like something. I'm traveling and I just have a small laptop with me, and some amazing new currency comes out, and I'm just like, yeah, Golem, I just fire up Golem and I have some Golem tokens, and I have a lot of them and I want to mine this exciting new currency. So I'm gonna ask everyone, guys, can you mine for me? But then it's not gonna make sense, because they can mine for themselves, right? Instead of mining another currency for me and I'm paying them with Golem tokens.
They could mine for themselves, except that they might, like, okay, A ton of the people who are on the network aren't necessarily tech-savvy people. If my grandma has a good enough laptop, she can run Golem and then just go to sleep.
Okay.
And she doesn't know how to like mine cryptos, but these guys can just use a computer.
Crypto mining is tricky because this is a little bit different setup than what you are using now in Golem. Ultimately, we want use case like mining and mining included to be possible for a variety of reasons. I'm not sure if Eddie's grandmother is the best reason to introduce mining on Golem. I think the more interesting fact is that what happens with mining is that the profitability of this operation can vary tremendously over time. So using a solution like Golem could help mining pools to accommodate to that and to like switch even simpler. But still, I believe that mining is not really the most interesting use case for Golem, and there are some technical problems to implement that, which we plan to resolve them, but we plan to resolve them not because of the mining, but because of the Golem as a whole. And those two problems are first latency. So for mining of a lot of cryptocurrency, Ethereum included, like the latency has to be minimal. For sure, it has to be like of orders of magnitude smaller than it can be for rendering. So, and then that poses its own kind of challenge. And the second problem, which is like, of course, we are going to sort it out at some point, but we haven't sorted that out just yet, is that at the moment what happens in Golem is only CPU computing. So we at the moment we are not providing GPU support. And of course you generally use GPU for mining. So that would be an obstacle. But on top of that, I think that what you're after in Golem is, as I said at the very beginning, creating something quite opposite to mining. So just to make this network really powerful, because every computer does something different. And I also think with perhaps more and more coins moving from proof of work to proof of stake, it may turn out that much more interesting use case for Golem is giving work to all the mining pools who become unemployed because of proof of stake, rather than introducing mining to Golem.
Ah, that's an interesting point. Okay.
A couple more questions from the chat. Asking, what is our market cap? It's to put it vaguely, it's in the hundreds of billions of dollars, and to give you actual reasons why that is. So the rendering farm industry, which is what Brass Golem will be taking on our first use case, is, and this is our lowest approximation, $200 million, which is a nice chunk of change, but that's not why we're doing this. But cloud computing itself is a pretty huge market. It's got about $175 billion per year, and it's estimated to grow to, it was estimated to grow, and that was 2005, to $203.9 billion in 2016. The market on SaaS computing is worth $37.7 billion. So these are just a couple of the markets we're taking on. And if you want to get the details on that, their blog.golemproject.net, called The Economics of the Golem Network Token. It's worth a lot of money.
Well, yes, and of course, like as I said, our hope long term is not necessarily like outcompete anyone, but just to make this market working better through Golem. So I don't expect that small and medium data centers will start disappearing, replaced by anything that it's built on top of Golem network. I'd rather think that for a lot of data centers, joining Golem network may be a good way forward.
Cool.
Is it more
another one is
interesting for? Sorry. Yeah, carry on with listeners' questions.
Yeah, so another question is, how will bandwidth and latency play into things?
Well, significantly. Right now, Golem can be used for tasks that don't have so much resources, not much more than 1 gigabyte of resources, probably, and they compute for a pretty long time, so sending of the resources won't take longer than computing the subtask. We hope that it can be changed in the future, and if you can download the data quicker and in a more efficient way, then this can be changed. But right now, we can support the task like rendering that usually have a lot of data, but also compute much longer when you transfer the data. Also, if you pay for every megabyte of the data sent, probably you can compute only very light Golem tasks that don't require many resources. But we still believe that there are many tasks that can be used that way, where you have just a short text file as an input, and then you process it and make some simulation with it, and return a simple text data back.
All right, cool. All right, another question is ad space on Golem. So people want to know, A, will it be possible to buy ad space on Golem? And if so, will it be bought with GNT?
Well, honestly, this is the first time I came across this idea. I don't know exactly where in application, but yeah, this is a wild idea. I have to think about it, but no, I don't think so. You don't buy ad space in Ethereum wallet as well.
Yeah, and yes.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, but this is like interesting idea, but still, this is open source software and run by community. So I wonder who should be like selling this ad space. I don't feel we would be in a position for doing that. Maybe we should like do some kind of auction for that, and then users I paid for seeing the advertisements. Yeah, really, like one of the use cases, one of the use cases we have considered at some point. That was Alexandra's idea, and I think it's quite a decent one. Then you can use Golem to send a task to be completed not by the computer but by the human that is using computer. Like for example, to do the survey or any kind of stuff that artificial intelligence is still not able to cope with. And
so kind of like
and watching an ad is perfect, probably a good example of such a task. But
oh god,
I'm only improvising, and this is not what we are building Golem for sure.
Thanks God, because this is like not very a nice picture of the future where when you are paid to watch ads.
Yeah, when you are paid for watching ads. Yeah.
Yeah, I was more thinking it's like a wallet and someone sends you, let's say, Bitcoin, but before you can access this Bitcoin, you have to, you just received 1 Bitcoin from your mom. Check out these shoes. They're really nice or something. It's like, I don't want a wallet like that.
Or even better, you're getting your reward only if you do the test right on what was in the ad. No, but this is not what the Golem is about. Like this.
Yeah, like if there are ads,
well, maybe
very far from the main purpose.
I had a question also about technology. How, let's say, let's say you have a bunch of devices with very small computational capacity, and there will be more and more of them with all this IoT. Is it possible for like a really not like really weak IoT device, maybe buy some computing power and use it for something in Golem as well?
Yeah, the question is what for? Like, do you imagine your washing machine wanting to compute something like really, really demanding? Like, I think like Internet of Things hasn't really taken off yet, but is already fundamentally broken. So, like, adding Golem to the equation would only make that a more worse. Like your washing machine being able to perform any kind of strange things renting Golem. This sounds terrible.
Yeah. So it's almost as like we moved to a section what Golem doesn't do. It doesn't sell any advertisement, and you don't connect your washing machine to it. We figured that out. I had another question, but I forgot what it was. I don't know. Tell me if you're ready to wrap up, because we've been on air for an hour.
Questions. Let me
Okay,
jump with a couple more
cool.
questions.
Let's just go through that.
These are from Jamie.
I have all my time.
Cool. All right. So one is why would devs come to Golem instead of Amazon Web Services or Azure or any of the other people they're on?
Yeah, well, as for devs, for preparing software to run on Golem network, we have this idea of application registry and transaction framework, which like makes integration with Golem in the long term simple, decentralized, so you can just integrate. And on top of that, with a really interesting way of monetizing software, where you're able to basically set the rules of how you want to be remunerated for the software using transaction registry. So, and this is on purpose like that. We are not able to foresee all the possible schemes that would be valid for different software, even if it is like paid per hour or per use or per node or anything, or per project or anything like that. And this is why we want to give a lot of freedom on setting that. So basically the idea is that this is the hardware you can rent, but you can like rent it along with the software, or even better, you just use the software, and if the creator of the software decides that the software can be used on Golem as well, then you use Golem.
Yeah, and so to sum it up, the main reasons are one, you own your software, kind of like you do on the Play Store or the Apple Store, except that you own it 100%, including you set how you pay, and you can choose any method you want. How the App Store, it's like a one-time payment with maybe in-app purchases. With this, it's anything you want. It's your call. Yeah. And another side of that is why would devs use us versus Azure, AWS? Well, a part of it's going to be that because and I know Julian doesn't like to talk about compete, but because we do outcompete them on price and on our power and efficiency, the customers will be here. And where do people go when they want customers? Well, they go where the customers are. If they're here, the devs will come.
I also believe that in many cases that this might be just another distribution channel for software companies. If you for example take well, I don't like talking about rendering too much, because that makes an impression that Golem is just a decentralized rendering farm, which is not. But still, we have researched that quite a lot, and this is a nice benchmark. So just referring once again to rendering, there's quite a lot of very good paid software that you can use now on rendering farms. But if you dig into details, that turns out that this software is sometimes used on this rendering farms without a license, without a proper license to use in the data center. So this might be one of the reasons of why you could use Golem, because you maintain control of the software. If you want the software to be used for free, it's used for free. If you don't want the software to be used for not to be used for free, it's not used for free. And this is this end of the story. So I believe that when only we are able to make integration with Golem pretty straightforward, then developers will come, because this is just another market for them.
Cool. Okay, another one. So same guy. He wants to know, will the entire service be accessible via contract or CLI, or will the UI have to be involved at some point?
Excuse me, what has to be involved in some point? Alexandra?
If it's like yeah, whether there will be
okay.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, we're going to have CLI and graphical user interfaces. Wow. So, but it's not going to be available only through the contract, because the Golem is mostly off-chain. Only the payments are on-chain and are automatic. So you have to somehow interface with Golem application, but you won't need graphical interface for that.
All right, cool. That's it. That's all the questions. I'm pretty sure if anybody else has any, we'll stay on for the next like 2 minutes, ask them real quick.
Yeah,
if not, I think that's done.
I actually have a question. Will people be able to do something evil with Golem, like huge botnets or something?
I can answer that one. So the answer essentially is no. So Golem has a class of user called the validators. And the validators their job is essentially to look at all the new software and create whitelists and blacklists. Now, for a few reasons, for example, we have a sandbox that doesn't give you access to, like a lot of stuff on the thing, but in the future, we can actually let you have apps that do give you more access to the machine that could be more dangerous. But the validators will look at them first, and you get to choose which stuff to run. So if you want to run stuff that's only very safe, you would say, let's only follow the Golem team's whitelist or any other trusted validator. Whereas if you want to like ride the cutting edge for fun and profit, you could say, I'm only going to run stuff that's not on a blacklist. And so any stuff that is, malicious would get caught and blacklisted. And also most of it can't run in the first place. A lot of it, at least.
And
okay.
And to supplement that, the centralized systems are often attacked or misused in many ways. And yeah, I don't believe that we will be exceptional. For sure, like we will be tested on many occasions. But we are building that towards the system that will be as secure as we are able to build and not to be used in a malicious way.
Okay, we still have like about 30 viewers, but I don't know, maybe we should wrap up so we don't get too tired.
I guess the last thing to say would be, if you want to know more, go to golem.network, and you can, from there, you get our social media. You can come to the Slack and ask us questions in person. We're super active there. And yeah, I guess we'll see you on launch day.
Cool. So bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much.